Enterprises, the Enterprises were on Thursday night, 17 of them.
And you went in here and picked them up?
Yep.
Who handed them out to you?
We pretty much counted our own out. They would be
Okay.
in a bundle.
So each paper boy
took
counted
care
them
of-
out?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And Mary T. Hilburn run the store with Watson T. Hilburn.
okay.
Yep.
So then you walked out to State Street
Yep.
and started making your paper
First
delivery.
delivery was at the Temperance House.
Okay.
Temperance House was 5 South State Street. Then we continue up through here. Across the street there, the first store was Lydia Cruzen. She had, what kind of shop would you have? Like a not a dress shop.
Notions.
Notions, yeah, that's what.
Right.
Sell thread and patterns, they have patterns and stuff.
For making dresses and clothing.
Then that was there. Then at 13 was the liquor store.
Now this was all 1940, 1941?
Yep.
Okay.
Early 41, late 40.
Now which one was the liquor store?
Number, I think it's what's that? 3 there. There's an apartment there, Savage's apartment, that was called.
Okay.
Then the next door, down there, was Janish's Bake Shop. I don't know the number of that, but on the other side of Janish's Bake Shop, where Mom's Home Bakery was a shoemaker, and he had a sign in the wall there. We ain't St. Peter. We're not preachers, but we'll save your soul. I think it's still there. And crossing back over the street, Mr. Carnell and Clint Greenlee lived in this double house here.
Did you deliver papers here?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They both got a paper.
Okay.
Horace Carnell and Clint Greenlee. And all those stores across the street, they were all occupied. And Harry Bunning was still there. Was there then?
He was
Harry.
the jeweler.
Yep.
And then
This store here was a Mr. Steinman. I didn't know him. I didn't know him too well. He took over from Evan T. Worthington, and his son-in-law, Jack Pioneer Market, took over the business from Steinman when he died. I don't know how long Steinman was here. He wasn't here too long.
did he get a newspaper too?
Yeah, the house, the doorway down
The doorway,
here. Yeah, because they lived over top of the store. Then Harry Bunning lived on both of those houses. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, he lived in the house alongside, right?
Yeah.
And then he went away. Didn't he go in World War II?
No, he was in World War I.
He was in World War I.
Yeah, Harry was in.
So he was
he
older
always
in
took-
1940.
yeah. And Ed and Bunning worked in Trenton at Dunham's or Voorhees or some store like that.
Okay.
Then next to them was Savage Brothers, which is a very fine store. Sold men's clothing, and it was a wonderful store up until
Until it went out of business,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
You could go there and buy Boy Scout clothing,
yeah.
uniforms,
Yeah, they sell a lot.
fine men's
Shoes,
suits
hats,
and clothing.
Yeah. And Peter Marsh and his wife lived over top of the store with a daughter. Oh no, I can't
Esther Mars.
Esther Marsh. She was born and raised and died in that house.
Yep.
Yep. She was about 96 when she died.
And they got a newspaper too?
Oh yeah. Papers were heavy on Thursday nights. The next to Savage Brothers was Evan T. Worthington grocery store.
Not Evan T. I think it was,
Bert Benner, you're saying he come later?
but it wasn't Worthington.
No. Horace Effridge.
Horace Effridge.
Yep. He lived on North Chancellor Street.
Okay.
And here's where the post office was. The post office was here. There's offices over top of there. That's got this 22. I think this was 20. Upstairs was 22, and this was 24, and it was Strathy's drugstore. And then, this was all built in 1920, because there was the house. It was built in 1719. And you go across the street, you can see the dormers in this house.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, now where are we going next?
Are we doing okay? It's on the corner of State and Washington, and Dr. Strathy was here at 24 State Street.
So you had two drugstores on State Street.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Could you actually repeat that? Just
Sure.
because.
From the beginning. 'Cause
We
he
had
was
two
not.
drugstores on State Street. One was up at the corner of Washington and
State.
State, and the other right here in the middle of the block, 24 South State Street. This was very busy, this store, and there used to be a lot of George School students come up here on Fridays and get ice cream sundae and stuff at Strathy's.
Did they have a soda fountain in there,
Yep,
Mike?
they had a soda fountain right in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's see who was next here. Now, did you go back and forth across the
Yes, I
street
did.
delivering
Yes,
these?
I did, Dave.
Because you didn't
Yeah.
have the traffic that we have nowadays,
That's right.
right?
Right. Then Horace Efrick, next door to Horace Efrick was the pool room.
Which one was the pool room, Mike?
27, I think 29.
29?
Ed Grace's pool room had 3 or 4 pool tables in there, and they used to shoot pool every night because it was before television. The guys used to come there about 7, 8 o'clock, shoot pool till about 1 o'clock.
Really?
Yep. Then next door to the pool room was Lydia. Yeah, Mrs. Knutson. She said the same type of store as Lillian Carulli.
She sold notions too.
Yeah, notion. What do you call them? The patterns for
Patterns
dresses
for dresses?
and stuff,
Okay.
and needles and threads and stuff like that. They had 2 of their stores in there. One was right there.
Well, back then, everyone made their own, a lot of people made their own clothing,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
The women all sewed. Now, did you deliver here, Mike?
Yeah, there was an apartment upstairs here. I forget who was here, but the apartment here, there was people live over top there. I delivered the paper there.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Tori.
Now, how about over here?
That's where Mrs. Knutson was. Or Knutson. I got to get the spelling on that.
Next door,
And Bill Gurley's barber shop.
the little building there.
Little Bill. That was a barber shop. Bill Gurley used to look out the window cutting your hair. You'd be
Did he
sitting
really?
there, yeah, he'd look at everybody going by.
So I think that's 33 South State Street.
It is, yep, 33 South State. And this was this here, what number is this? 32 was Taylor.
The tailor?
Taylor, he pressed, did alterations and dry cleaning.
And pressed the clothes.
Yep. He did that for years. I think his name was Farber.
Barber, okay.
Yeah.
Now, how about over here? Was that 35? Was that building there then?
That wasn't built. That was built right after the war or during the war.
Okay.
There was apartment houses there. And I don't know who lived in there right now.
You
There was
didn't
a
deliver?
school teacher lived in one of them, but there was 2 or 3 apartments there.
Okay. Now,
And this is the AMP. This is the building I was born in.
yeah, there was a historical event here, right?
Yeah.
You were born here
Yeah.
in this building. There
Yeah.
was, did your parents rent?
They rented. It was upstairs. Yep.
On the second floor.
Then from there we moved out to Maple Avenue. Yep.
Now, what
Into
was
Penn
on the
Street.
first floor at that time?
I think it's a function of the bank. It's,
Okay. The bank had some offices in there.
They didn't have some offices or something in there. They weren't open like as
Okay.
a bank because
It was next door.
that was there. In the other corner we had 2 banks, 2 big banks.
Watch out.
She's pretty enough to get in this.
Now, how about on the corner here?
Joseph Flum. Louis Flum has a clothing store there.
So Flum's department store
Yeah.
was at 43 South State Street here on the corner.
That's right on the corner.
And you
Yep.
could buy all your anything you wanted in there.
Yep. Boots, goulaches, overalls, everything.
A lot of work.
Everything for
They
women
sold,
stuff too.
they
Yep.
sold a lot of
Shoes?
work clothes and
Yeah.
shoes. Yes.
And then it was packed. And if he didn't have it, he said he had it out the station.
It was just coming in, right?
Yeah.
He'd go and get it for you probably. Now,
This
how
spot-
about the bank here? Did they get a paper?
Dave, I can't remember, but I don't think they did.
Probably not.
Yeah. I think Horace Hoagland had the paper delivered at his house.
Okay.
And he was president of this bank for 400 years, him in Headley.
For a long time.
Yep, long time.
Okay. Now, when you got down here to Center Avenue, which way did you go?
I went right
You went right.
down to Sycamore Street.
Okay. Now, were there some houses at that time
Yep.
on Center Avenue?
There was the twin house right back of the bank here.
And who
Oh,
lived in
oh.
that house?
Ronsavilles lived in there, and Pitcocks lived in there.
Rounsaville and Pidcock.
Yeah.
And then was there another house?
Yeah, what is it?
Island
number 10. It's Tom Pat Burns lived there, and his father and mother, and they got a paper. They got a bulletin.
They got a bulletin,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's it. That is where the parking lot is now.
Yes, okay. Now,
We continue on here.
we should probably stop for a second.
Okay. Focus on here that you can see the original part of the bank with the yellow brick. Those other two sections were built at a later date.
Okay. Now we'll go down Center Avenue.
Yep. '15 was Ed Grace lived in there before he moved up to State Street.
Okay. Now, the Academy was also here. You
Yeah,
didn't
that was
deliver
a-
newspapers there, but the building called the Academy was here.
That's right.
That was
I think they got a paper. It was a rental.
It was a rental.
We always called that the Century. Not the Century Club. Yeah, the Century Club. Yeah,
But it was really built as an academy, as a school
that's right.
in 1796.
Yeah, we can put that in
We
put
can
that
show you-
into a photograph because it's going. It was up this lane, right?
Right.
Yeah. We've got some good pictures we could insert in this, like when you come back and tell about Pilgrim's garden there.
Now, there was a double house that sat here.
Back here, yeah.
And
That's gone now.
Mike delivered a paper there.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where Rounsaville and who lived?
Pitcocks lived in there
Pitcocks
when I
lived
was
in there.
serving papers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good. We have nice old photograph of this.
You can insert these photographs, can't you?
Now, down here, we want to remind them that
Yeah.
it was island number 10.
That's right. Here, there was a house right here belonged to my uncle, Tom Burns, and they referred to it as Island Number 10. That was handed down by Norman Kitchen, who was a historian, right?
Town
Yeah,
historian. And supposedly it came from a name of a prison
In
that
the
was used
Mississippi?
during the Civil War
Yeah.
on the Mississippi River. And we have some nice old photographs of that.
We can insert. That was the only house here.
The reason it was called Island Number 10 was because
Of the
the
water,
creek
yeah.
was on one side, and there was a mill race
The mill race will run all the way down to
down through here,
yeah,
across the south side of
Barclay Street.
of Center Avenue to Barclay Street to power the mill that's on Barclay Street.
And this here, Dave, you know more. And this bridge is one of the oldest stone bridges in Pennsylvania.
Yes, it is. Second oldest one in the state.
I think it was built in 1799. It's
Ni-
on there. Well,
92, I think.
it's on there.
Now we should cross the street here.
And this bridge, this portion, the
This
walk part
portion,
wasn't.
right.
Yeah.
He's going to film that sign. It's 1792.
That's it. I don't know when this was built.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There is a date stone on the
Yeah.
bridge, 1796.
Yep. And this bridge we're on now wasn't built then.
Stone wall needs some work over there. Slow down a little bit, Mike. Now, what was on this corner over here, Mike?
This house was there called the McMaster's house, and it most recently been fixed up. When I was a kid, the people named it Case lived there.
Case lived there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then here is where the Green Parrot was located, which was torn down either late 40 or early 41, but I can get that date. Yeah.
That was like a bar,
Yeah.
tavern.
They knocked it down to build this. They took these pumps out of here.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. How about that?
Gives him a lot more parking. It's a
Yeah.
lot better to get in and out of here. Now, Mike, over here where the 7-Eleven is, was that just an empty lot?
Yep.
Did that belong to the Lowndes farm?
That's
Okay.
right. Yep, that belonged to the Lowndes farm. And then Bob Ketterdine's uncle owned it. Uncle? Bob Ketterdine's uncle? Grandfather.
Grandfather.
Yep.
And then later on, there was a gas station built there. Is that right?
Yep. Atlantic Station.
Atlantic.
Yep. I think George Forsythe ran it. There's a lot more traffic now than then too.
Jesus. Who's that? Jean-Pierre.
That's John Pierre. That's the guy who runs this now.
Now, Mike,
There
was
was
there a building here?
Yes, there was, Dave. And people lived in there, but I don't know their name. But
You did not deliver a paper there.
that's right. That's right. I do not know their name. You know, it wasn't much of a house, Dave. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's sort of run down.
Now, Mike, I know you delivered a newspaper here.
That's right.
Who lived in here? Who did you deliver that to?
Her name was Mrs. Neal.
Mrs. Neal.
Yep. She lived here with her husband. I got a photograph. I'd like to insert it showing her out here with
With a broom.
Yeah, with broom or something. The porch was sort of enclosed. And this was 125. And across the street was the stone farmhouse for this whole
That whole farm.
Yeah.
And whose farm was that?
Yeah.
Lowndes' farm?
Lowndes come later. It was Kennardine had it for a while. I don't know when Kennardine sold it to Lowndes.
Now, isn't this where Booker Dingle lived?
Booger lived here. Yep. This porch was enclosed, and it's now owned by it was Dr. Raymond Hennessy and his wife Claire.
And the
This
porch
was
went
an
all the
old-
way across
yeah,
the
it was a
front?
porch, and it was real dingy. And, they did get a paper. And Booger Dingle died within the last year. He was over 100 years old.
Now, the farm that was across the street, was that a dairy farm?
Yep. That's what
They had
all the
cows?
cows used to come out. That's what the nuns used to like to live in. Visit say the cows were right across the street.
They
Yeah.
thought they were really in the country.
That's right. They all remember coming to Newtown where the cows were. And this was a garage for Booger Dingle here. I don't think it was much of a garage. And Winters lived here, and they still live there, the family. James Winters, they had a son named James, and his sisters still live here.
Do they really?
Jim. I don't know. I don't know them all.
Could you hold on one second?
Yep.
Could we just repeat that last bit? 'Cause
Sure.
We lost that,
That-
one.
What's that?
Who lived here, Mike?
James Winters. He was a farmer for Goodnote, but he lived here, and his family lived here. And some of the children still live here. James Winters' children. Bessie Winters, and I really don't know their names, but I can find it out for a later date. Yeah.
Okay.
There's 3 girls living now, I think. And this sidewalk wasn't here.
You just had to walk in this road, right?
Yeah, but it was all like dirt and cinders.
And then you delivered to St.
St.
Andrew's.
Church, the rectory, and the convent.
Now, this building here was the convent, right?
That's right. That's where the
Now, it's had some extensive renovations done to it in the past 2 years,
they
hasn't
sure did, Dave. Yep, they sure did. I got some photographs I had to dig out showing what it looked like when they started in 1927. Then they built a couple additions onto it.
it? Okay.
And this being the final edition. I don't know who bought it. I don't know. But the nuns lived in this convent, and they had the old school in the back, and then they built this school over here.
Now, Mike, you went to school here, right?
Yep.
And a little school that was in the back.
Two-room schoolhouse. I thought they were going to have to burn it down to get me out.
The 2-room schoolhouse.
Yeah. We
And
had an outhouse, one for girls and one for boys.
wow. And that was down in back of this building,
Yep.
right?
More in back of the church.
More in back of the church.
Yep.
Okay. Let's just go down here.
And the school across the street was built by Father Daly about 1954, 55.
In the early 50s.
Yep. I'll have to look up the date on that.
Now, there was a rectory here for the priest, right?
That's right. That's it. Yep.
And that was recently torn down?
Yep. That was torn down, I guess maybe 6 years ago. And it looks much nicer now.
Yeah, because it was
church-
so close to the church.
Yeah. This is it. And the other side of the church is the St. Andrew's Cemetery. And we had a two-room school. That 1 to 4th grade and 5th to 8th was in back of the church.
So how many nuns did you have there? Just
Well,
two?
they started out, they had like a housekeeper and 2 nuns. About 3 of them. Later on, when they built this, they had more nuns, they had 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you delivered newspapers here?
Right. And there used to be a back entrance coming off of Stockburgers, coming in the back way. We had a little footbridge
From
there.
State Street?
Yeah, from State Street.
So that you could cut through there
Yeah,
and not
yeah.
have to walk all the way
You could
around
walk
when you were
this
going to
way, or
school?
you come that way. You come both ways to school.
Good.
Yeah. walk.
Good.
Yeah.
That's
And we
great.
didn't have a school bus neither.
Let's just walk back here and see where that school was.
That's good. Idea. This is very nice. This is nice.
Now,
Church was built in 1880.
it's a beautiful building.
The school was over here where that Gorski sign is, one end of it.
Okay.
This is all the back of the church.
Wasn't too much of a school, was it?
No, it wasn't. Didn't even have a cloakroom.
It didn't?
No. No.
Now, who built that, Mike? Did the
They
men
finally
of,
burned it down.
but did the men of the parish build it?
Yeah. Yeah.
They did.
They built that and they built that one. Most of them built this. Father Dalia was a preacher. He built most of this school.
Really?
It wasn't that much. It was 2 rooms, 1 to 4th and 5th to 8th.
Well, you were lucky to have it, though.
Yeah.
And you went there,
Yeah.
right? All 8 years.
Yeah, all 9 years. They liked me so much they kept me back.
They wanted you to stay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that school building sat right over here.
That's right.
It hung right
And
over the creek.
The path that come across from Stockburgers cut in here, just about in here. It's all built up now.
Now, where did you have to walk through someone's property to get to that bridge?
No, that belonged to the church at one time.
Okay.
And the Father Smith come along years later and donated that land. Well, he gave it or sold it to him. Chances are he sold it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where the bridge was.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other
Because that Heston house,
that was
the
on State Street?
housekeepers, yeah, the 2 housekeepers belonged to this parish.
Okay.
That's when they sold it. But
Okay.
a lot of kids walk. Most of the kids from town walk to, from South State Street and Sterling.
Sure.
They walk across that bridge. Matter of fact, I think the abutment is still there somewhere.
Well, everyone walked to school in those days.
Yep, that's right. So
Okay.
that ends our journey here.
Good.
Yeah.
Where do you want us?
Let's see, wherever, I mean, like if you're gonna be,
Do you want to get in this shadow here so you don't have that
I guess.
on your lens?
Sorry, you alright?
Is that all from now or is it still
It's still there, but I'm just gonna move.
down a little bit?
That's You guys keeping up with me? Sorry. I need to keep moving. I have no clue. I need to keep moving though.
What are we doing?
Alright. Now you guys just stay on the right of me, go that way.
Here,
All right.
just go. Ready?
Alright, whenever you're ready.
Now,
Okay.
Mike, did you tell me something about this bell tower
This
here?
bell tower was built by John LaRue in 1910. That's all I know about it. But
That was added on to the original church
that's
building.
right. In 1910, they had a big ceremony, and a lot of priests were named Donovan at the time. 3 of
Really?
them. Yeah.
No kidding.
No relations.
So that was added in 1910,
Yeah.
the bell tower. It has a wonderful sounding bell,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
Now, over here, this was the convent,
Yep.
right?
The-
Can you
the
tell me a
convent
little
was
bit?
Transferred to from another location on Center Avenue. See where that rain spout's coming down? That was the original size. Then they built on another addition onto it. Then they built the final addition, and then they built this. So they built 3 additions to the original. And I don't know what year they were.
And this building was originally moved from Center Avenue in the borough
1927.
in
28.
1927 over to Sycamore Street
That's right.
for them to use for a convent.
Yep.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And they only had 3 nuns at the time.
So it was
One- yeah,
plenty big
one,
enough for
one
them.
in the housekeeper and one in 1st to 4th grade, and the other taught 5th to 8th.
Good. That'll do it for
And that-
right
and
now.
they-
Today, Mr. Swing, talk about that when we get up here.
I have to double check that date. But Father Daly got the men of the parish that was drawn up by an architect in Philadelphia. The men of the parish like Bill Grace, Tom Byrne, Frank Coffey, all donated their time. And they built the toilet, well, they built the whole school, all on donated time. And that's what we got today. And it's still a good school. It's good condition.
And they used that for almost 50 years, didn't
Yep.
they?
Eighth grade, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they outgrew it, and
And
it
they
moved
built up
out
the
into
Eagle
the
Road.
township. Yes, up off of Eagle Road. Okay.
And they built the land originally from Lowndes. He bought it from Bill Lowndes' father, Charlie Lowndes.
They bought the land from Charlie Lowndes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he must have been there in the 50s. I don't know when Lowndes moved in there. Because Bill was in my class and they still lived up Linton Hill Road in 45 or so.
That was good that you named those people.
Mhm.
That was good that you named
What's that,
the
our
people.
snack?
He doesn't,
Well,
he's not on.
it's there.
He didn't have
oh.
it on.
Could you repeat that? Yeah, I'm on. Go ahead. About like the farmland and everything.
Oh yeah, that was the dairy farm, belonged to the Lowndes, but it was down there. Father Daly bought this land off of the
Lowndes.
Lowndes.
So it ran all the way down
Yeah.
here to the old farmhouse, which is hard to see now because
Yeah,
there's
there's
stores
all
in
stores
front of
in
it.
there, but we can get a picture of that at the farmhouse if you want to.
Sure. Let's walk
There
on
was no
down.
houses on that side of the street, only the farmhouse. Wasn't anything on that side of the street all the way down the Buck Road.
You ready?
Yeah.
Dave, that was good.
Do you want to go over that again?
Can I get that one more time? I'm sorry.
Now, Mike, this Lowndes farm ran down Sycamore Street, and it bordered whose farm? Raymond Cornell's?
Raymond Cornell had gladiolas. He raised gladiolas.
He raised flowers.
Yeah.
And that was
later-
a smaller farm than this one.
And later on, they had a pumpkin contest there, and they still have it, the Raymond Cornell Pumpkin Contest. And that's where it was when it started out. And they used to have a weighmaster, and the different farmers brought the pumpkins in. It was nice. And now they ruined it, they charge you, and everything else is gone.
Yeah. It's turned into a big commercial
Yeah,
thing, and
yeah.
it's run by, I guess, the county.
County or, yeah, I don't know who.
I think we have a picture of that,
I
Mike.
think we do too. If the crowd didn't throw it away.
No, we have it.
We got a lot of nice pictures that can be inserted, Dave.
I know we do.
That would take another project to help them do it.
Well, we can get them out. We know
Yeah.
the route. We can pull photographs that we have. That'll make it really interesting.
Yeah, some of the old, the older people, right?
Yeah.
That one of Mrs. Neal is excellent.
It's a great picture. Oh, you can hardly find that farmhouse now.
Yeah, there's the end of it. See it?
Yep.
Pretty sure that's it. Yeah.
It is.
There's the end of the farmhouse there. That was a big farmhouse, several apartments in there. Doc Banahan's mother and father lived in there for a while.
In the farmhouse?
Yeah, in the farmhouse. There's the end of the stone.
Yeah, it was a nice stone farmhouse. So that was right across from Booker Dingle here.
Yeah.
Now, what did Booker Dingle do in those days?
As far as I know, he
Rubber
worked at
stamps?
George School.
He worked at George School.
Yeah. And he had a son that went to George School. And one of his sons was behind me in high school. Booker Dingle Jr., and he worked at GM. And I don't know how many kids he had. This place for sale, Dave.
Do you know what, Mike? We were wrong. That's the farmhouse. They've mimicked it over here with one of these stores. There's the farmhouse back in here.
I thought that wasn't that.
Well, we were looking at this one over here behind
this
that
was
tree.
stone here. Yeah, this is where those shutters are. Is
Yes,
the farmhouse.
where the red shutters are. That was the farmhouse. That was a big farmhouse.
Yes, it was.
You can see.
You can get a
how
picture of
long it
that
was.
later on. Come in the other way. I think it'd be easier than climbing this bank. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll see it. You'll see it's the farmhouse as soon as you. Yeah, the other's just the end of the store, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They used the same kind of stone. They probably used
Yeah.
stone out of the barn.
Jerry Hennessy got a lot of that timber out of that barn.
Did he?
Yep. Have we heard from Hopkins lately?
No. I got a letter a couple of weeks ago.
Here.
It's all in the works. So that's good.
We can use it.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. George really took an interest in it.
Yes, he did. Now, what was on the corner over here? Nothing? Where the Chrysler dealership is? Because Lowndes is opened that in 1950, I think. It was just an open lot.
I know in back of that was Hainsey, the junkyard. He'd give us all the kids a couple pennies for junk. Dave, the only house there is the farmhouse at Outfell. That's all I can remember. Addie Adams lived in that.
Addie Adams?
Yep, lived in that while we were in high school. I'll show you.
Now, Mike, I want you to tell us about where this green parrot sat down
Yeah,
here.
okay, I can do that. Dave, the only thing I remember is that house out there. You
That
passed it-
farmhouse
yeah,
out there.
Yeah, it's a stone house.
Yes.
It's a real estate agency.
And that's where Adams lived.
Yeah, there it is with a blue shutter.
Yes.
I don't remember anything in there between that. And later on, they had a little league field out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't remember too much.
I remember that little lake field.
Yeah.
And then there was a junkyard
Yeah,
behind
there was a couple houses back in there.
Stockburger Chrysler, behind there.
Yep, the junk Hainsey, his name was, the junk man. He gave you 2 cents for everything. And he had a little bag, like a Bull Durham bag, give you 2
He
cents.
kept his pennies in?
Yeah.
Now, where did this building sit
I'm
here,
going to
Mike?
show you. Because in the picture we got, we can see part of the
Yes.
McMaster house.
And it sat right
And
here?
Well, it's set. It's set this way.
Right here.
The longest part was on Center Avenue.
Okay, and this
And
would
it
have been the
might
end.
Might end at about here.
Okay.
And we had some pictures of that at the
At the Historic Association. Okay. We'll dig some
and
out.
a guy named Schultz had I think I've got it now, oysters and sandwiches or something like that. Yeah.
Well, oysters were big in Newtown back
Oh
then.
yeah, Temperance House
All,
and the Brick. Yeah,
all the restaurants sold a lot of oysters.
And their parking lot was all oyster shells. And back at the Temperance House, the Brick Hotel, all oyster shells.
Well, I know if you dig down in Court Street, It's all oyster shells behind the Temperance House.
That's right. And I think a lot of them at the Whitehall too, but I'm not too sure of that. Did I say?
This is where it's at.
Yep. Real
Okay.
quick. And the picture you can see part of that.
That house.
Master house. Yep.
Okay. Now we'll take a break. So Mike, they're building what? A new green parrot?
Another new green parrot on North Sycamore Street, and then on the Goodnose corner. And it's named after this green parrot here.
How about that? So we're going to have a new green parrot. That's great. Yeah. It's on a bench up there. Okay.
What was the age of this bridge built? 92?
1792.
Yeah.
Now, did the young people go fishing in this creek when they were
Oh yeah.
young in the old days?
All the boys, yeah.
And they used to trap, because
yeah,
I used to
there's a
sell
lot of kids
traps
trapped, yeah.
where they used for
A lot of
trapping
students-
muskrats.
That's right. From here down to George School and clean up past my way.
yes.
Pat even trapped up that way.
I
later
guess
on.
you just prayed that you didn't get a skunk in the trap, right?
Yeah. By Tom Pat's place.
Before you had a swimming pool,
Yeah,
you had what?
yeah.
You
And
would
a swimming
swim in the
hole
creek.
Right, yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Right where the dam used to be. There used to be a
This
dam
side
up
of it,
here.
yeah. Right by Tom Pat's.
How about that?
All summer long, they had kids in there.
That's interesting. Well, it's still a nice creek.
Yeah.
They've been trying to clean it up in recent times. Get all the trash out of there. Now this walkway was added on in later years, right?
Yeah. I don't know when this was added.
It's not
Wonder who
original
would
to the
know.
bridge.
No.
The state would probably be able to tell you that.
I don't remember ever saying anything when that being built.
Now,
Yeah,
over
yeah.
here, Mike,
Yeah.
what was
Watson
here?
T. Hilburn had that fancy garden.
He had gardens here, and he
Yeah,
raised
yeah,
flowers.
yeah,
Is that
he
right?
Yeah. And he went from here all the way back to where.
Where the liquor store is, and
We
it was
got
like a nursery, wasn't
yeah,
it? And
we
he-
got excellent photograph of the flowers, of how he had them all laid out.
and there were greenhouses there. Is that right?
Yep. I
And-
don't think we have pictures of the greenhouses. Do
We might have one with
Yeah.
a greenhouse
Like
in
in
it.
back of your store.
Exactly. And the mill race ran right down through the middle of his nursery, didn't
Right.
it?
Right.
I bet he borrowed a little water out of that mill race to
But he
water
did
the
too.
flowers. Now, were there any buildings here, Mike?
No.
There were no buildings.
That's what I was just saying.
It was just the nursery here. Am I right?
The only building I know here was those garages.
Yes.
That I remember.
Yeah, and
Fells lived in the top of the. Mrs. Fell,
Mrs. Fell.
Jane Fell's
Was-
mother, lived on top of the.
Okay. Of the drugstore. Well, it was actually
where
the Acme.
Starbucks is now.
That was an Acme market when you were young, right?
Exactly. Yep. An American store, then become an Acme.
Right. And then after the war, was it still an Acme supermarket?
Yeah.
Or when did they move out? When they built the new Acme on Sycamore
Yep,
Street?
Yep. I think it's 1954.
Okay. Then what went in here? Furniture store?
It was Goldberg's furniture store, and I'm just trying to think. Then
Gamberg's
Dick Hoover-
Furniture
yeah,
Store.
Dick Hoover moved down here.
And then Hoover's Pharmacy.
Yeah. Then there was another pharmacy that guy took over. He was a nice
Yes,
fellow.
he was nice.
That's when it went out of business.
Yes, and then the bank actually bought the building, the First National Bank, and then they leased that first floor to Starbucks.
I think it's still an apartment over there, isn't there?
There
I
is an
think so.
apartment on the second floor, yes. Nice big apartment. Okay, that'll do it for.
Right across the street here was Jones's.
You have to wait one second.
All right, I'm ready to go now.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Right across the street at 101 was Jones's restaurant. It was an ice cream parlor. We had the jukebox in the back room. This is in the 40s. And then at the start of the World War II, as the guys left here, they never returned to the ice cream.
So it never turned into an ice cream establishment.
Yeah, you're right. They had for a while.
Now, did you deliver newspapers there, Mike?
Yep,
You did.
They got one paper.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, this building here where Starbucks is now,
That was an American store, then it became an Acme, and after an Acme, it became a drugstore. Oh, yeah.
Gamberg's Furniture Store,
Then it became another
drugstore,
drugstore.
Hoover's.
Hoover's, and I can't think of the other guy was closed. I can't think of his
Yeah.
name, but it was nice. Stuff.
Don something was there.
Hoover took over Strathy in the center of the block, and he moved down here.
Okay. Well, going down
Yeah.
State Street here,
And this here, this was a barber shop at one time.
right in here was a barber shop,
Yep,
Mike?
Yep.
Okay.
And this number is 102. This was Doors
Doors Grocery Store?
Doors Grocery Store. I used to stop in and get tasty cake, three chocolate cupcakes for a nickel on the way to St. Andrews.
Okay.
Then the next store down there is David Callahan's hardware store, which had 4 owners and 100 years.
Was John Burns when you were young?
John Burns.
Now, how about across the street here, Mike? In the
Dave,
stone
I
building.
don't remember who lived there, but later on,
It was
Ned
Mrs.
Barnsley's mother.
Barnsley,
but
right?
I don't know who lived there before that.
Okay.
And Ned remodeled the Bird in the Hand in '37, right?
Yes.
Here's this famous hardware store. Everybody loves it, right, Dave?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Now, I was talking earlier when we took a little break. There was actually a little house in between the stone
Yeah.
house and the Bird in Hand. There was a little tiny house in there that people lived in. Talk about squashed in there. It was like a sandwich. Now, did you deliver papers to the Bird in Hand?
I think I delivered one paper.
One paper.
I think I did, yes. I'm not too sure.
Okay. Now, what was in this building,
This
Mike?
building was a barber shop.
Keller?
Yeah. Clayton Keller. And Clayton Keller
Wait a
left
minute.
money.
Clayton Keller's
Clayton Keller left money to donate
bathrooms.
Yeah.
Restrooms
yeah,
for the town.
restroom. There was female here and male on the other side. And at one time, at 110 here, there was a guy had an old store. His name was
Mark Granite.
Mark Granite, and they run him out of town after the election of
Well, he tried to start some kind of a new
independent party or
independent party for the election, and it didn't go over well in the town, and he left town as soon as the 1932
something. Or was it around that?
election.
Yeah.
But he had a general store in here, right, Mike?
Yep. It was an old style general store too.
And then when Godwin's bought this building,
It did away
they
with
moved the bathrooms.
up
They
the
were
Borough
public
Council.
bathrooms.
Yeah.
They moved them up behind the borough council chambers. So that's where the public restrooms for the town are now.
They become real ratty.
Yeah,
They-
they didn't.
yeah,
They were a problem. No one
Yeah,
was taking
n-
care
nobody,
of them.
Nobody would clean them, but now that they're in a good location.
Yeah, they are.
Down here.
Okay.
Down here on the right was Phoebe Vandegrift had a little ice cream, not ice cream, little candy store.
Phoebe Vandergrift?
Phoebe, yeah, Pat Carlton's grandmother.
Okay.
She lived here, and there was a renter named John Coop that used to rent off of her, who had the Ford agency.
He had a Ford agency
he
on
lived
Sycamore,
there.
well, up on North State Street
Yeah,
originally,
That's-
right?
That's right.
And that was in here.
No, John Coop lived here with
Okay.
her. Yeah. Then the next one was Stanley Lee. It was a little real estate office.
That's this little building on the end here.
That's right, and this all been added later after a couple restaurants were in there, like
Okay.
Weitzel's and Joe Camille.
Camilla's restaurant was in here.
Yeah, all in here. And this building here was Stanley Lee's Insurance, which later Ada Reader took over, or he bought from Ada Reader.
That was this little building,
Yeah.
this little end here that we see coming up was Stanley Lee's insurance business.
One night,
Now how about the stone building across the
the
street?
stone building was a private lady. It was a private residence, and some lady took care of her blind brother. Her name was Maggie. I can't think of her last name. Fuhrer. Maggie Fuhrer
Fuhrer.
took care of her blind brother in that store there. And the next one is the White Hall.
Now did you deliver a paper there?
Yep, I took that and threw it in the door every time,
Okay.
every day.
Now what was here, Mike? This
This is-
building coming up.
This was Mark Griffin Miller's store,
Griffin Miller's
Yeah,
store.
la-
What
later-
did he sell?
like the 5 and dime. So little knickknacks and stuff. That's what
Like
it was.
a 5 and 10 cent store. Okay.
Yeah,
And then I guess later on,
Yeah, then
there
you
were
all
other
know what-
businesses.
You all know what happened to the next building.
Well, the next building was the newspaper office, right?
Yeah, Newtown Enterprise was printed there.
Now, can you
For
tell us
about
how did
four-
they deliver the papers, the Newtown
I
Enterprise?
remember a guy who wrapped these papers up, put them in a wheelbarrow, and took them up to where we started out this morning, Hilburn's. That's where he wheeled them up there every Thursday afternoon.
Who was that?
Val Remper.
Val
I can
Remper,
still see him doing that. And this is where the Enterprise was printed.
right in this
should put
building.
that
This
in
was
there.
originally built for printing the newspaper, the Enterprise. And it's a really beautiful building.
Yeah. We got some old pictures of that. The guys that worked there.
With the
we got-
fellas that work.
Yep, the whole crew. Then, of course, that's the White Hall over there. Now these, I don't know these stores. There wasn't too much in here. When I was a kid growing up delivering papers, there was a family of, now, Pitty lived in the other side, but the Wiesners lived here.
The Wiesners?
There was a whole bunch of boys of Wiesners lived in one of these houses.
Now, how about the end store here? Originally, that
Dave,
was
I
a
don't-
shoe shop, wasn't it? Remember
Martin
Curran?
Kern sold shoes there, but that was gone before I delivered. I don't remember anybody being in there.
Okay.
Then we went out Penn Street.
Now, did you deliver any newspapers to the White Hall?
Yes, in the center door here, I delivered. Yeah, I think I delivered a Trenton paper that they got.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Now, this is Penn Street, Penn and State. This is
I
as
didn't
far
go.
as you went.
This is as far as I went.
Okay. And then you crossed State Street
Yep,
and
right,
went
yeah.
east on Penn Street, right?
Yep.
Well, we'll cross over now. You didn't deliver one on the corner here,
Nope,
right?
I didn't do it. You know who lived? I'll tell you who lived in there though. The lady, the button lady,
Marion Bean.
Marion Beans.
She sold buttons.
Yeah.
Can you imagine making a living
She lived
selling
there
buttons?
She lived there with her brother.
Conrad, what was his name?
Harold Conrad.
Harold Conrad.
Yeah.
That was her brother.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's go on Penn
And
Street.
Gazer
here.
Murphy Chevrolet was on the other side of the road. This wasn't here. I wasn't down that far. But that Heston house, that's where that Heston house was, right down there.
Yeah, that's where Mike went across the bridge to
You're
school.
right.
Lots of traffic here. Hold it up,
Over
Mike.
here.
They're going to let us across. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. This is where the windsock was in this end of the building. There's an aviation
This,
mortise.
yeah, the windsock room was had an aeronautical motif
Yeah,
to it.
that's right.
It had a big radial engine in there mounted on the
Pitcairn
wall.
engine or something, yeah.
A Pitcairn engine, that's right. And it was just all aeronautical.
Somebody lived in here, but I don't know who. I don't know who lived in
Now, what was here in this big building, Mike?
there.
Bond Brothers?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of his first name. Russell Bond and
Russell
Bill Bond.
Bond.
Yeah. Amos.
They
yeah.
had a car dealership
Yeah,
there?
Yes, they did. And I tell you who bought it from them
Whittam.
was Whittam. Then he folded it up and started a
Hardware
hardware
store.
store. Yeah. Charlie knew that. Charlie
Umstead
knows
would know
those
that.
dates. Yeah.
Now, you did not deliver a newspaper over here.
No, I don't remember. I don't know who lived there. I didn't deliver at these houses. Oh, I did this house. Yes.
Who
There
lived
was-
here,
there was
Mike?
There was a lady named Cora. I want to say Buckman. That was her name. But she lived in this house and she rented the back. 129. I didn't touch these houses.
You didn't
I don't
deliver
know-
there.
I don't know who did that. This lady always used to get her paper here on this porch.
You stay up there, Mike. Now, did you deliver to
Yes,
any of
I
these
delivered
homes?
there. Fred Weaver lived there.
Fred Weaver.
Yep. He had 2 daughters.
Now, this is a double house.
Yep. I don't know who lived in the other side. This is a single house. I don't know who lived there neither. I remember Pennypacker there.
Not everyone got a newspaper.
That's right. These were all occupied and they got a paper.
Now,
What's
over
theirs?
here,
Yeah.
this was a stable, is that right?
Yep, but that was run down. That was vacant when I was a kid.
It was.
I tell you, Adams, somebody started a plumbing business out of there. I can't think of his name. Can't think of his name.
And then it was later made into 2 double house.
Yeah,
And Lorraine Pence lives in the
yeah. Al
right hand.
Bishop started there before he
Bishop,
went into
plumbing.
service. Yeah,
Okay.
and Al went into CB.
Now, how about this house here?
Yep, Watts Ayers.
Watts Ayers?
Yeah, Watts Ayers.
Now, what did Watts Ayers do for a living?
He sharpened lawnmowers, blades and stuff.
And
in
worked
the
on
back.
lawnmowers, right?
Yeah.
Behind this house.
Yep, yep. Then I don't know who lived at 103. I don't remember that. But Bob Dafter lived down here, and Marvin Hilsey's parents lived next door. And Cora Buckland's boyfriend lived in that house.
In the right-hand side here.
Warren Sutton. And his sister kept the house there. And Cliff Sherman lived next door. And he had 3 daughters. And he worked in town here, like at Watson's or something. In 106, I don't recall, there was a Mebbs that lived there. I don't recall his first name. I think it was George Mebbs.
Now, how about this one, 105 Penn Street?
105, yeah. Marvin Hilsey's mother and father lived there, and Bob Dafter lived here. Bob's
Okay.
still with us.
Now they should probably get around with their back to
Then
the
there was
sun
an
now.
old Irishman. Let me show you.
Hold on.
An old Irishman lived here, Warren Davis, and his Mary Davis, and she went around collecting everything for the
Could you,
those booklets.
could you repeat that one more time?
What?
This
An
house
old
here.
Irishman lived here, Warren Davis, and his wife was Mary, and she went around and collected all the things for the church booklets, you know, when they had the ads and stuff. She embarrassed everybody.
Into buying an
Yeah,
ad.
right. You never said a word to her.
You were afraid she'd sell you something.
Then they lived here, and since then people fixed up. In this house there was a Dr. Horn that had a practice in Philadelphia, and somebody took care of it during the week, and he'd come up on weekends. Then Hot Tomlinson,
Howard O. Tomlinson.
his mother and father lived in there, and I think Howard was born in that house.
Howard Tomlinson,
Yep.
that is. He worked
He
in
worked in a
a
hardware store.
hardware store in Newtown called
Dick Howe.
Fitzgerald's.
Yep,
They sold
went-
electrical supplies and had hardware.
that's right.
And then when that went out of business in the early 90s, I guess it was, he moved over to Newtown Hardware and worked until he retired at age 80.
Then he sold that house right before he died, didn't he? Or moved
Yes,
up
to David Pugh, and then
Yeah,
David
okay.
sold it to the people that live in there now, the Laskies.
And this was the famous Hicks house. You can get, I don't recall delivering the paper there, but I assume that he did use the paper. But that's in the Hicks family.
Yeah,
That's
this
the
all
cha-
used to be a big meadow in back of that house.
that went all the way to Chancellor Street.
That's where Edward Hicks lived. From, I think, 1811 or 12 until he died in 1849. And this was his son's house across the street. Did you deliver paper here,
Yep.
Mike?
When I delivered,
Who lived there
you
then?
know who lived there when I delivered? Was a Mrs. Willis, and I don't know whether it was her husband or brother that lived there. I was telling you about. He was sort of odd, and he had like a deformed hand, and he used to take the train a lot. But I don't know really what he did for a living, but I know he wore these leather combination boots from here to here, high leather shoes.
Now, they used to
It's
live
just
out in the
shit.
township, right?
They
Where
were like
Tamora Farm is
They
now.
were like a catcher's shin guard, only they were leather.
Really?
Yeah. I remember they used to walk in here a lot. And down there where those houses are, I didn't go there, but that's what was known as Hicksy's Meadow. And there was a big ditch in the middle of that, and we used to ride our bikes down there and go into the ditch.
That was probably
It's all
Old
filled-
Skunky, right?
Yeah, Old Skunky went through there. And this here, this is where the Willows lived. They sold a farm out to Richburg, out to
Swamp Road.
Swamp Road, and they moved into this in October of 40, or 41, I just forget which. But I can get the exact date of that.
Now, how about
No,
over here?
I didn't deliver there, but they had.
But can you tell us who lived there?
Mr. Murphy.
Murphy.
Yep. And he always carried a paper up from Philadelphia when he come. Wrote it on the train. In other words, he read it on the train.
Okay.
But I didn't deliver here, but I did deliver papers to all these houses up here.
Okay, well, we'll walk up there, Mike.
Yeah. Mrs. Willis, who was a trainer there, very nice lady, very nice, but I never knew the details of it. And I also wanted where she died, was when I couldn't find it. But they sold that farm and they bought this on October of 41, I think, Dave. This is called Stonehurst. I'm right on that, right? Yeah, it is Stonehurst, yeah.
It's a beautiful house.
Yep. I remember Buckles living in there. I remember Mrs. Willis living in there, but I don't remember after that. But I got some notes on that I gave to that
Girl that lived in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, how about across the street here, Mike?
Yeah, Doracos lived in there. They had a couple people in high school.
Doracco.
Doracco, they were a Polish family. I don't know who was next door. Matthews bought that in 41.
Now, how about here on the
Now,
left?
Dave Hibbs lived here.
He owned the one of the hardware stores in
At
town.
the time he worked for John Burns.
Yes,
Yeah.
at Newtown Hardware.
Yep.
And then he opened his own
Yeah, that's
hardware store in
my Fitzgerald or something.
1955 when
Yeah.
when Burns passed away.
Mhm. Kurt Matthews, who worked in the post office, lived in that house. And Bothwell's lived in that house.
In the
And
brick
Stanley Lee lived here. Not Stanley Lee. Stanley Fly.
Fly.
Yep.
Okay.
Then there's 4 houses. I went down here to the end house there. Should we walk down there?
Sure, we can.
There was 4 little single houses, and all older people lived in here. Tommy Fitz's father and mother lived in there. Remember
Fitzpatrick. I
Yeah.
remember Tommy Fitzpatrick.
Well, his mother and father lived in here. And
You can show us which ones, Mike.
Yeah, I'll have to show you one.
You can probably stop recording for a minute.
You want to get in front of it?
Wait,
Let's-
let's wait till he gets there.
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Mike, we're here
Yeah.
on Mercer Street.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about
Yeah,
this
well, the
property
ambulance
over
garage
here?
wasn't here in 40, but we built this. The ambulance was built in 1952, and some of the land come from Mr. Flum and Ned Barnsley donated the land. But this house was here, 101, by the name of Weenhafer, and he worked for a contractor named William T. Wright and Company.
And you delivered a newspaper
Yep,
there,
that-
in 101.
That was the last one. That was the last on this route.
Okay.
And I did know everybody lived along here, but I can't think of these 2 names. But I did know everybody. The next house was Tommy Fitz, lived there with his wife, and they were quite, into their 80s then.
And their last name was actually Fitzpatrick,
Yeah,
right?
Yep. Fitzpatrick. That's right.
Okay.
If I see a map of the 41, I can tell you who lived there.
You just can't
We
remember their
had it-
names.
Yeah, we had it out in a directory.
Okay.
Yep. If they had a phone.
Good.
So that's it. That's it for Mercer Street.
So that's
and all
it
these
for
were
here.
double houses, but they didn't even. A lot of them still had outhouses.
When you delivered the paper.
Yep. I think Whistle originally owned these houses, but owned the,
Yeah,
owned
he
the
did.
property.
I think he built them.
I think so.
I
he
think
did.
they were for workers at the on the railroad and at the mill lived in these houses. People that didn't make a whole lot of money probably back then.
And there's a guy that lives here. I think it's 110 Congress Street. His name's John Guy. He lived here. But when I grew up, I delivered a paper here to her, Margaret Fly, and she was a Notary Republic. Or what do you call it?
Yep.
Notarized things. And she worked for Stanley Lee.
Okay,
Yeah,
she was his
yeah.
like
Like a
secretary.
secret- right.
We have some cars coming here.
That son of a bitch. She run over us.
Okay, that's about all for this street now, and
That's,
then
that's right.
we'll turn the corner here onto Congress Street and do a couple of houses on Congress, and then we'll go down Center Avenue. This has been a nice walk today.
Yeah, good walk.
Brings back a lot of memories for you.
I know. That's what I'm trying to say. I got $1 a week, and she took a penny out for Social Security. I got 99 cents. And if I missed a paper, she docked me a nickel. I didn't work too long on this job.
That's funny. Now, This brick house, you don't, is that where Bothwell's
That's
lived?
where Bothwell's lived, right,
Okay.
when I did, yeah. Alvin's mother and father lived in there, and so did Alvin, along with Ann. And she said, don't bother me with that shit. Stanley, I always say Stanley Lee, this is Stanley Fly.
110.
Yeah, she worked at a real estate office. He was a butcher, and they had one son. And I knew the boy. I haven't seen him since World War
Two.
II.
Now, how about this little red house here, Mike?
Flags lived there. They had
Flag.
2 daughters, 4 boys. Flag. Mr. Flag worked in Philadelphia on the area, and he commuted on the train every day.
And they had what, 2 daughters?
Yeah, they're both school teachers.
No sons.
Yeah, they had 3 boys.
And 3
They had
boys.
one my age and 2 older.
So there were 5 kids in that house.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the library was here then. They didn't get a newspaper, right?
They might have got the Enterprise.
Okay.
I'm not sure of that.
Now, how about on the corner here? This is now Fitzpatrick.
There's a lady, now Fitzpatrick. There's a lady named Mrs. Supplee had that. And I think Jane told me she bought that off of Mrs. Supplee. It was an odd lady, very odd.
Okay.
And there is,
Right.
this building was built in 1899.
Okay.
The
Mike.
friend,
Okay.
Dave, it's 11.
The
I
Friends
delivered
Home.
papers there too, and I had to make sure I collected every Saturday night.
Over here.
Yeah, Stanley
at
Lee.
Stanley Lee's.
Yeah. There was a dime, a nickel, I think it was 3 pennies, 18 cents.
But you had to make sure
There's
you
the Friends
collected.
Home. You ought to get that. That's a
Friends Home's a beautiful building.
beautiful building. And they used to get one paper. It was all women in there. I don't know whether they fall over or what.
Yeah, one
But
newspaper.
they were always
for,
sitting on this porch.
how
The
about
rain.
that?
They were always sitting on this porch, not that porch. This-
Okay,
this-
now
this
we'll
way.
go down this way.
That's it. Frank Rook lived there.
Okay.
He did get
Well,
a
we'll
paper.
wait till we get up there and
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
I think the library got an Enterprise.
They probably did
Yeah.
because they would have that in their newspaper rack, the local
Right.
paper. Good. Now, how about this house here, Mike? This little house.
On the
You
right
know- No, the one on the left.
here?
Mm-hmm. Do we know anything about that?
Yeah, just slightly. Dave.
You didn't
There's
deliver
a name
any
of
there?
Pierce lived there, or Pearson. Who later moved up on Chancellor Street, but that's all I know about that house.
Okay. Now coming up here on the north side of Center Avenue, is that where Frank Rook
Frank Rook,
lived?
who was an engineer on the Pennsylvania, on the Reading for 50 years. He used to run out in Newtown.
See, the railroad came into Newtown. It ran from Reading Terminal on Market Street in Philadelphia and
Yep.
came out here, and this was the end of the line.
And I want to show you something here. There's some sheds here, and it's called Cornell Livery Stable.
It was a
And
livery
they put 'em
stable.
in here, and later on they built this house.
You could come here and rent horses, leave your horses here if you were visiting.
And we got pictures of it as a livery stable with the guys out front of it, right in here. And they also had a telephone.
Yes, there's a sign in the photograph that they had a telephone in there.
Yep.
They hauled freight, or you could go in there and
rent a horse.
make arrangements and rent a horse, or make arrangements with them to move your household furnishings.
And these buildings were still standing in, which was part of the livery stable.
Now, who lived over here, Mike?
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Blake? No. I know who lived there. I think it was by name of Cornell, but I'm not sure.
Okay. How about in the next house?
Yeah, the next house, Ed Burns, and there was Norman English who worked at GM. And the in-house was Walter Scott.
Walter
Give me
Scott.
hell if I was late delivering his paper. But I knew who lived in all these houses, and I can't remember who lived in them. And this house here was a double house, and a guy named Smith lived in one side. He used to be sitting out on the porch, rocking, and that's it. Except up in back of the court end, there was a guy named Musser, and I delivered him his paper on the back porch.
Musser.
Musser. M-U-S-S-E-R. I know where it's related to Frank Musser.
The druggist.
Yeah, I know.
Probably.
Yeah.
So this would be the end of your route.
Yeah.
This was a long walk for you.
Yeah. Carrying the papers from
Carrying the papers, and you had to cross back and forth across the street. It
Yeah,
wasn't just a straight run. You had both sides of State Street. You had to go all the way to St. Andrew's Catholic Church, and then come back and go all the way around this block and pick up Mercer Street.
I think if I look at a map, I can remember a couple people in here. But Norman English lived in one of them. Ed Burns and Scott. That's three of them I know, but I can't think who lived
The
in
other one
those.
was.
Yeah. If I see that phone directory we have, that'd give us.
Okay.
That one that's real old, it gives all the phone books. It's 1941. That's excellent.
How are we doing, man? Well, this has really been interesting. It's been a nice morning to take a walk. A nice October morning.
If we goof up, we can do it again, right?
Well, we can.
We just fixed that house up beautiful. Watch it, watch it.
Watch it. Mike, who lived in that big house?
Horace Reader.
Horace and Ada Reader, right?
Yeah.
They were in the realty business.
Horace Reader and Stacy Brown sold everybody, and Stacy Brown buried everybody, right?
Yeah, that's true. He was one of the few realtors here. Reader.
And Ada Reader took over. His wife took the business over, then she stole it to Stanley Lee. But Horace Reader did the most business.
Yeah, he had a heck of a business. Okay.
And up here, this fence wasn't here, but there was a back porch that kind of, I remember throwing the paper there. I think it was the Trenton paper.
Now, where
It
did you
used to
live
come-
at that time, Mike?
There, at that time,
When you were delivering the paper, where did you live?
I lived on Maple Avenue in Newtown.
Okay.
Then we moved to Penn Street later on.
Okay.
But this porch come out here, Dave, like it wasn't enclosed. It's just like a roof coming out here. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they lived
Open
that-
porch.
Yeah.
That's great.
We can get some pictures. You can dub in or whatever. Well, whatever you want to do for
pull
each
those out.
item.
Sure. Maybe we can make a appointment and come over here next week one morning and look through the pictures and photograph them. I don't think this would have been Dr. Hennessy's
But I think he
dental
opened that
office.
after the war.
I think he did too. I don't
Yeah,
know who
'cause
was
he
there
was-
before the war.
I don't think he was. That building was called the Stuckert Building at one time in 1912. It's written up there, but
On the top.
no, before that it was 1882.
It was the library. That was
Yeah.
Newtown's second library.
You can put that in there. See it?
40, I guess that's Center Avenue. I don't know what the address is there. Center Avenue. I
That
guess.
40 would be Court Street, I think.
I guess that would be Court Street on
Yeah.
that side.
Because the other is 32, which is an even number.
Yes.
And up there on the high end of it, it's called the Stuckert Building. I don't know whether that was Bill Stuckert's.
Yeah, well, Will Stuckert had his office in there, Mike,
That's right.
back around 1920, I think.
Yeah.
That's it. We did it. Thank God.
I was standing out in front of my house here on Penn.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Now it's good. It always
Okay.
has like a little delay, but
Oh, okay. One day I was standing out here in front of my house on Penn Street talking to Mike Donovan, and he told me who lived in the surrounding houses. And I was surprised that he knew people who had lived here so long ago. And when I asked him how he knew that, he told me that he had been a paper boy. And then I thought to myself, wouldn't that be an interesting thing to do, to take a walk along Mike Donovan's paper route?
So here we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we hope that taking this walk and reminiscing with Mike will give people an idea of what it was like in Newtown all those many years ago.
And this is before TV, because a lot of
Yes.
people be sitting on the porch reading the paper.
Yes, they would be.
Yeah, yeah. Or just sitting on the porch. That's what you miss a lot. People sitting on the porch and you say, I am Mr. and Mrs. Skelly, Mr.
Well-
and Mrs. Now they're all inside watching TV.
And that's probably how you got to be so familiar
Yeah,
with these people.
right, right.
And knew their names and,
Yeah.
and the names of the family and,
That's right.
and all the details of them.
That's
You're right,
exactly right. Yeah.
that you wouldn't know that today. Okay. Here we are, standing outside of a house on Penn.
it's not recording yet.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's going. So you can just whatever.
You think it went?
Let me have a look.
Because it didn't stay red.
Oh, it didn't.
It's October the 20th, 2008, and I'm here with the crew of the filming of the Paperboy's route. We have Chris Ball, Britton Leonard, and Kevin Ball. And these are the people who are responsible for filming this. It's a project put on by the Newtown Historic Association, and we're very grateful for their being willing to do this. I don't know. It doesn't sound that great, but it's just a record up here.
Okay.